The very first question, and this is almost the perfect disqualifying question that I would ask the VC is like, what's your thesis on AI? What's your thesis on agents? If I got a non-answer, I knew almost on the spot that they were going to pass. It's not just people giving you money, it's finding partners on this journey. And good partners is what makes the journey worth it.
Your goal is not fundraising, your goal is building a great business, and the way you know you're on track with that is by getting those initial set of customers that show that there's large TAM to go after. You do that, the funding will come.
Right now, it's very hard to raise money. But if you have the right AI story, you're going to have 500 investors banging down your door.
The core thing that you should focus on is just building your business. If you build a business that in, X amount of months is making $1 million of ARR, you won't have to think about fundraising. People will come to you to talk about fundraising. And I would say where we are today is a lot of inbound investor interest because people realize services businesses that are transformed by AI will be massive JP Morgan scale style businesses with the right leadership and the right team. And I think if you can show a path towards execution, not for the flashy thing, but for the thing that's creating real economic value and people can see it, you will never have a problem fundraising from anybody. And that is like the core thing. But don't get distracted, because it can be a really big distraction to focus on that. The core thing that matters is like, do you have a business that's adding value? Are people really, really buying into it? And like that value creation should be the thing that makes you hungry, not the flash of any other pieces. Even though that's important, you need to fund your company and find the right people to fund your company.
Yeah, exactly. I think that sometimes people get it mixed up and think that the name of the game is fundraising. The name of the game is, solving a problem, having customers, creating revenue.
Our fundraising war story was we started fundraising kind of tail end of 2023. So we actually raised some angel checks from early investors in Stability AI, some senior guys from Google Gemini. Back then it was Google Bard, as well as senior ML researcher or ML applications expert at Airbnb. We spoke to a handful of VCs who were just complete thesis alignment, who really understood the future potential of AI agents. I remember distinctly, we spoke with several VCs and they just said as feedback, like, look, you guys are incredible. I think what you're working on, you have a very ambitious idea. I just don't think agents will ever work. Fast forward to 2025, agents are the only thing people talk about are agents. So we found investors who really did believe in the vision of the future here, that it was not too far away, but you had to have kind of a lot of belief and conviction that the law of these models progressing the way they are is going to be a reality.
I think any founders who are listening, VC funds are amazing, but think about who their Rolodex is. Think about who you can get access to from their networks. And these are a lot of the things that we recommend founders to lean in on as much as possible, just because there's you can be as high touch with your investors as you want. And I think if you're just, one of the main things we get on is we get on monthly calls with these folks and we're just like, okay, these are the 10 people we want to meet. How do we get introductions to all these folks? And this has been one of the most pivotal things for our business, by getting these really, really high touch.
And that's great advice to founders. At some point, the interview is two ways. Maybe in the beginning, the VC is interviewing the founder, but at some point you have the right to start asking them about, how they do business and what their value add is and how they work with other portfolio companies and things of that nature. So that's good advice. So you guys raised 2.6 million back in 2023 or early 2024 by the time it closed?
November, early December 2023. And yeah, I mean, to hammer on the point, it's like really, it's a two-way interview, right? The very first question, and this is almost the perfect disqualifying question. The very first question I would ask the VC is like, what's your thesis on AI? What's your thesis on agents? If I got a non-answer, I knew almost on the spot that they were going to pass. But when people were saying, okay, I'm actually diving into the research, it was almost always a meaningful conversation that went either the last rounds or actually, majority of them closed, right? It's not just people giving you money, it's finding partners on this journey. And good partners is what makes the journey worth it.
I view it as a psychological game. If I'm going to sell to you, I need to induce fear or greed in you. And so when I'm selling to you, it's true. I've had people look at it, and my close rate with investors tends to be much higher than the average. I mean, I sort of work on the assumption that many investors don't have the information they need to make intelligent decisions. And they're going to operate by whatever rule set they operate on. And so I want to know, what are they afraid of? What are they greedy about? How do I tell the story to induce the emotional sense that they're missing out, right? If they don't invest in me. And, you know, that, for me, because at this point, I'm wealthier than many of the VCs I work with, right? And I'm older than most of them. And so I have the ability right now to almost be a little condescending when I go there, where essentially and you've experienced this with me, right? But in essence, I look at you and my only thought is, I'm not sure if I'm going to give you the opportunity to be able to ride on this journey. And people can smell that. And if they feel fear on the part of the founder, if they feel any sense of, supplication, they run. It's an unusual perspective because, normally the balance of power is very much where the VC has all the power. I'm the guy with the checkbook. I get to treat you. And I never speak to an investor like that. My attitude is entirely like, I'm the power. I'm the one who has the ability to make you money. You are replaceable. I've got 1,000 more of you where you come from. And, and I tell the story, I forgive me but you asked me, so I'm going to give you the honest answer. But I think VCs and private investors are human, and they respond to emotional, they respond to emotional needs. And so just like when I think about customers and look for fear and greed, I look for the same in investors. And I make my entire pitch based entirely on what's going to induce an emotional reaction. And so, right now, it's very hard to raise money. But if you have the right AI story, like, you're going to have 500 investors banging down your door because everybody's got their theme about what they're investing in, and next week it'll be a new theme. But if you're their ticket to get their 50x or their 100x and make their fund big, you're going to get it.
There's two kinds of companies, right? There's people that are using AI in their SaaS and all that, and then there's native AI, right? And when I say native AI, in my mind, what we're talking about here is we have technical founders that have a master's or PhD in computer science or AI. There's usually 2 or more co-founders, and they're building along those 4 levels of value creation that I talked about. Right? You have the compute, the models, the infra, and the applications, right? The way we see it from an investment standpoint is that for early stage investment, it's going to be hard in any of these, right? We're skating to where the puck is always going to go. And so I think the vertical AI is probably coming to an end soon, as there's been a lot of proliferation. And we're really in agentic AI on the way to whatever's next, quantum, robotics, on the way to AGI.